This being our Wednesday night Bible study, October the 17th, 2018. This is a continuation of our series, which has been enlightening, I know, to myself and hopefully to all who have been listening, which is the Kings of Israel and Judah. And we are studying into the life of David. The subtopic is the rise and fall of King David. The rise and fall of King David. We'll look at, if you will, 2 Samuel. We'll be dealing with chapter number 10 to start out with. 2 Samuel chapter number 10. And what we're looking at is a critical time in David's life where he, like a lot of us, is going to peak at this point, and then he's going to get beside himself. And as the Lord sums up David's life, he says David did all that he asked him to do, except in the case of Uriah, the Hittite's wife. And this is a thing that God just could not let David get by with without severe damage. And the type of damage that was brought into David's life actually tested him, which strengthened him to see if he really would be there faithful to the Lord. A lot of times we have to understand, when we fall like this, God doesn't make it easier. And I want to make sure we get this through the lesson. God allows multiple tests to come. The reason being is because when we were safe and secure on a solid rock, we decided to jump into the devil's water. And so the devil, as he is the one who is malicious, as he is a false accuser, well, now he has something to accuse David of, and it is a fact. And so God lets him, within a certain boundary, move on David. And a lot of us will fall after a situation like this. And that's why you see repeat offenders going back and forth in life, because we think that God is going to prevent the devil, but he's not, because we've opened ourselves up to be attacked. And this is a thing that deceived Job with his friends coming. It was just a normal thought that when a man gets attacked like that, he must have did something wrong. In David's case, he did do something wrong. But in Job's case, he didn't. And so God knows that Job could withstand it. But once again, in his infinite wisdom, he pulled out of Job a questioning attitude toward God. And that even made Job strong. So 2 Samuel 10:1 says, "And it came to pass after this that the king of the children of Ammon died, and Hanun his son reigned in his stead. Then said David, I will show kindness unto Hanun the son of Nabash, as his father showed kindness unto me. And David sent to comfort him by the hand of his servants for his father. And David's servants came into the land of the children of Ammon." Now remember, Israel is an enemy with them. And then remember David, there is different journeys, his sneaking around, hiding from Saul, and dealing with different things in his life. He runs into some kindness showed unto him by this individual. Nations will rise up against each other and battle, and then there'll be seasons of peace. And this is David making an attempt to send love to the son of the man that showed him kindness. Verse 3, "And the princes of the children of Ammon said unto Hanun their lord, Thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he had sent comforters unto thee? Hath not David rather sent his servants unto thee to search the city, and to spy it out, and to overthrow it?" This is what's wrong. I want to point out here, one area is that before you make a move on something, seek counsel. That's the number one point I want to deal with. This is going to hurt Hanun, because he seeks counsel, but he seeks lousy counsel. What's going to hurt David is he doesn't seek counsel, but for himself. So he violates what the Apostle Paul taught us. You compare yourself with yourself or with those that are around you, you're not wise, because you don't have enough spectrum to look at. And this is what's going to wound both of these individuals. So, wherefore, verse 4, Hanun took David's servants and shaved off the one half of their beards, and cut off their garments in the middle, even to their buttocks, and sent them away. So this, wherever they went, this was a sign you've been shamed. You've been embarrassed. And these are the servants of David. Now, these guys are like, these are some known guys. So everybody's like, kind of, man, somebody done shamed David's boys, and David's not going to take this lightly at all. And so when they told it unto David, he sent to meet them because the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. And so now you have a situation where this is such of a fierce embarrassment. They said, man, you don't want to come back. You don't want to come back home. When you usually at, because it's so embarrassing. Sometimes I may look at, well, what is the big issue with this that's going to anger David so? It has nothing to do, saints, with simply this era of time. It has to do with shame is a damnable thing, in the sense that when you're shamed, people look at you like, man, you're cursed, because usually that's the case. But the law tells us in 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. A lot of times we don't realize why brothers and sisters can't say, I'm sorry, forgive me, I was wrong, something to that effect. One of the reasons is because it brings shame. And they can't overcome that. But the Lord has said, okay, we'll just study more. I'll forgive you. Don't worry about it. And the Lord uses another term in the New Testament. And of course, the theme is in the Old. That if you trust me, you will not be ashamed. We have to understand from that, there's a shame that happens on the earth, which is very traumatic. Some people kill themselves when they lose a job, they lose a spouse. Spouse leaves them, divorces them, they catch their spouse messing around, they're robbed of certain items and they have nothing anymore. Many people took their lives in the Depression era and in other eras, of course. And so there's a shame also in addition to here in hell forever, where you were wrong. So the Lord says, if you trust him, you won't have the shame. David's going to take this shame very serious. Verse 6, and when the children of Ammon saw that they stank before David. And what does that mean? Remember when Jacob, concerning his daughter, the boy's sister had been compromised and she had been laid with. The individual wanted to marry her. He wasn't an Israelite. And they said, we'll circumcise you and we can let it happen. So after they circumcised all those men, they went in and killed them because they were too weak to fight. And Jacob used this same term, you have made me stink in the land. And when you stink in the land, that means it's like rotten fish or something. Everybody knows, man, you're nothing. So Ammon knows you stink before David now. So he's going to get rid of the smell. The children of Ammon sent and hired the Syrians. I said, they're going to get back up. I said, no, man, when David bring it, he's bringing him. And Beth-Rehob should I say, and the Syrians of Zobah. So you got two sets of Syrians. 20,000 footmen. That's a nice size army. And of King Maacah, 1,000 men. And of Ishtar, 12,000 men. It's a real nice, juicy army. Different allies. And when David heard of it, he sent Joab and all the hosts of the mighty men. And the children of Ammon came out and put the battle in array at the entering in of the gate. And the Syrians of Zobah and of Rehob and Ishtar and Maacah were by themselves in the field. So you've got all these groups together. When Joab saw the front of the battle was against him, before and behind. So he's surrounded. He chose of all the choice men of Israel and put them in array against the Syrians. And the rest of the people he delivered into the hand of Abishai, that's his brother, that he might put them in array against the children of Ammon. And he said, if the Syrians be too strong for me, then thou shalt help me. But if the children of Ammon be too strong for thee, then I will come and help thee. He's got a great plan. Joab was a good guy planning, but he was just a crook. Verse 12, be of good courage, and let us play the men for our people, and for the cities of our God. And the Lord do that which seemeth him good. So play means to war. Sometimes they call the war game, because it means to interact. Verse 13. And Joab drew nigh, and the people that were with him, unto the battle against the Syrians, and they fled before him. When the children of Ammon saw that the Syrians were fled, then fled they also before Abishai and entered into the city. So Joab returned from the children of Ammon and came to Jerusalem. This happens a lot, saints. When you're in battle, you see one army. You say, well, they got our back, and they run. Say, man, it's time for us to go to retreat. And in the work of the church, when the saints have done something in error and they begin to stink, they begin to try to fortify themselves with characters that are not right before the Lord, unsavory, so to speak. And what happens is that the individuals, when they engage in battle, they get to debate a subject or get to make a move, a coup attempt against the saints of God to take over the Lord's kingdom at a particular locale. What happens is when they see one group defeated, they will run. Because the fierceness of a battle, saints, in the physical is even more fierce in the spiritual. Because fierceness in battle physically, you might get a leg cut off, you lose an eye, maybe you can't walk anymore, lose an arm. But in spiritual battle, you lose your soul. And so it's even more fierce. So what happens is, verse 15, when the Syrians saw that they were smitten before Israel, they gathered themselves together. And had Hadarezer sent and brought out the Syrians that were beyond the river, and they came to Helam. And Shobach, the captain of the host of Hadarezer, went before them. And when it was told David, he gathered all Israel together and passed over Jordan and came to Helam. And the Syrians set themselves in array against David and fought with him. So they tried to go, man, let's move around. Let's relocate. David said, where they at? He said, let's go get them. And the Syrians fled, verse 18, before Israel. And David slew the men of 700 chariots. Wow. So you know how hard it is to kill a guy in a chariot? It's like fighting a guy in the head out of the roof of a Cadillac or BMW. So his head is out, you got all that car around you swinging. And the chariots there, you can only get so close. Some chariots had spikes on them. It's like, man, this guy kills 700 chariots, David, in the battle with his army, and 40,000 horsemen. 40,000 guys, right? It's like trying to fight a guy on a motorcycle, zooming by, and smote Shobach, the captain of their host, who died there. And when all the kings that were servants to Hadarezer saw that they were smitten before Israel, they made peace with Israel and served them. So the Syrians feared to help the children of Ammon anymore. So now you got the Syrians in his pocket. Y'all gonna serve us. Ammon, you on your own. So, no more trouble for them. Think about this, saints. What does this come from? Shame. Disrespect. Now I want you to recognize this. This is God's army. What literally happens here is God sends his ambassage in peace at David's request. And this is who David is following after, according to doing it God's way. Your father showed me kindness. I'm going to show you kindness. I'm sorry your dad died. He was a great guy. Now, they don't have any problem with Hiram of Tyre. See, when Solomon takes over, Hiram of Tyre, he doesn't pull this gank move like Hanun did. He applauds and he loves Solomon. And he embraces him and he says, man, I'm with you. I'm so glad your father was a great man. And all the best wood colors and all those things are set up so sweet and wonderful for them. The wood just slides right into place. But this guy, Hanun, is unappreciative. And so this is a personal strike at God. Remember, what did David say against Goliath? You're going against the armies of the living God. Saints, when you are in battle, even in civil war, which means Church of Christ against Church of Christ. If you remember the battle of Israel, the 10 tribes always outnumbered the 2 smaller tribes in the Judea, Jerusalem area. They won when they were right. Because God had said, okay, I'm not with you guys, you 10. I'm with right. In civil war, God is with right. In war against enemies outside the camp, God is always with right. That's why when Israel was acting bad, God would let the opposite nation kill them. Not because they were right, because Israel disrespected God. And he has no more army now. He said, I ain't got no more army now. Y'all not it. So I'm going to let them destroy you all. God is always with what is right. And it was right to whoop Israel in those times. So at this point, you may think, well, man, just a beard shaved off, coals cut to the buttocks. My goodness, how embarrassing that. For the armies of the living God, that's a death wish. You just kiss your life goodbye. I'm sharing that to say, brethren, we need to understand we are a special army. We are a royal priesthood. We fight the battles of the Almighty God. We also, in addition to that, we offer up spiritual sacrifice, which no one else can, that are acceptable to the Most High God. There are priesthoods that are so powerful and so secret. If you just come near where they meet, you might not make it back home. Accidental or intentional. The priesthood of God is likened to that. To where if you have no authority there, God slays you. Why do you think the men in Acts 19 are stripped naked and embarrassed? So that's shame, that's spiritual shame. Because they had no business using God's name and trying to act like his character. They didn't possess either. And they use his son's name, which is off limits. A lot of times the world is going around saying things, but we don't realize God has showed blindness in the evil Jewish guy who was blocking Sergius Paulus from hearing the gospel, Enumas. Paul says you're going to be blind for a season. God takes these things serious because we don't understand this fierce God above is one day going to roll all the things you see above and below like a scroll. Because he has a system that he wanted to destroy earlier, much earlier. And after he cleansed it and gave it a second chance, it wouldn't act right. Then he separated the people and the Jews wouldn't act right. And then he puts them in captivity and he sends Christ and says, okay, this is the last shot. So he says, this time I'm going to burn it with fire. And one thing we have to understand, the beauty of him using fire is he says it's going to be destroyed forever. See, fire, if you ever seen it in action, what it hits, saints, kiss it goodbye. It's done. It's over. And that's why he's using that term. And so now let's look at David has risen. This is a peak rising. David has gotten rid of enemies. They're still in battle, but David is like able to whoop anybody. And if you just embarrass this man, he's coming for you. And now here comes David's time of embarrassment. Chapter 11. And it came to pass that after the year was expired. Now this is a special time. At the time when kings go forth to battle. There's a time when kings would battle. They knew it was time for us to battle. Why? He said, why would they battle that? Because, saints, we have wars today. And I hope you understand what we're saying. Wars just don't happen, brethren. Wars are strategically estimated upon its victory for gains of minerals, resources, properties, and people. Don't you think for a minute that a nation that takes over another nation is nice by accident. It wants that people to be it. It wants to teach it its religion, its political views. It doesn't care the skin tone anymore. Just, if you can act right, we'll work with you. And there's a time when kings went to battle. And everybody knew, hey man, I've been wanting that mountain for the last 20 years. My daddy couldn't get it. Now I'm going to get it. And this is why you see a nation coming after Babylon. You see a nation coming after the Medo-Persian, which is the Greeks. And then you see Rome coming. Because men want power. And the more power, and if it's a queen, she going to want power. And I just say men generically. They want power. They want resources. They want a people. They want the things that are needed to sustain life. And they want it for the next generations after. And they want it for their people. And they want their name at the top and saying, I got it. When they remember that, it's very important. Because this is the same thing Jesus Christ does. And he is the King of kings and the Lord of lords. He takes over a people and says, okay, I'm going to make you mine. Or either I will destroy you before my eyes. That's why he used that example. Because Jesus says, okay, you really should be destroyed. My Father wanted to get you, but I can make you mine. That's the aggressive king side, but then there's the loving king side where it says, come unto me, I want you to be with me forever. So if you take the ugly side, then you get destroyed. And so we see, he says, they're ready to battle, and that David sent Joab and his servants with him. So David sends his army out. And Israel, now Joab has a very high level position. Joab is an individual, if you notice something, is the captain of this entire army. But watch this, Joab is not one of David's mighty men. See, and brethren, this is important. This is so important to see. He has about 30 some odd men. It's under 40. But he has a smaller group that are like really, really, really good. They kill like 700 people by themselves. If you go and read about David's mighty men, as the Bible sums it up, as he's summed up, his life is being summed up. So what you want to look at is that, why isn't Joab there? Why is he over the army? Well, I got him over the army, but he's not the guy. You got Benaiah, you got other people. And so what happens is he goes out to battle. They destroy the children of Ammon and besiege Rabbah, but David tarried still at Jerusalem. Now that's a mistake. What did it say? Kings go to battle. Right. David should have been at work. I remember when I first saw that, when I first read this, I said, why wasn't David in battle? He's always in battle. And that was so odd. Saints, when it's time to go to work, you got to go to work. Let me tell you what happens when it's time to go to work and you don't. That's something going to get your attention. Because you remember the old folks just say, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. They weren't off track. When you're idle, when you're not busy with what you should be doing, if it's time to rest, it's time to rest. It's time to relax, vacation, day off. But we're saying when you're not about the work that you're supposed to be doing, especially if it's your Father's business, which is God, then you're going to get in trouble. Look at verse 2. It came to pass in an evening time that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. Seems like he's bored, doesn't it? He gets out of bed, or either he's rested enough, kind of walking around, really don't have no super plans. And from the roof, he saw a woman washing herself. And the woman was very beautiful to look upon. Okay, now remember, when you see a woman that's not dressed, if you go into a hospital, you have to watch your eyes and go into a hospital. Because you go into a hospital, there's doors open, people, the thing come off their back, sometimes it come out the front. You have to you turn your head, you don't turn look. You don't do that. That's what David does. So not only is he not where he's supposed to be, one, secondly, he has forgotten to do what Job said, make a covenant with his eyes. Now look upon a maiden. There's another man's wife. And David said and inquired after the woman. The wife said he sees her. Okay, so what takes forth now? Lust. Because he wants her. So now he wants to know, okay, who is this woman? Now, you know how they know her so well? One reason, she is Uriah's wife, who is one of David's 30-some-odd mighty men. That's how they know exactly who she is. And one said, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Now here's his third opportunity. I remember I taught this to the teenagers. Show how many chances God gave David to back out of this. In the wrong place, he gives him grace. Looks at the woman naked, doesn't turn his head, he gives him grace. Asks who he is, who she is. As one of your mighty men's women who's out there fighting where you should be overseeing the battle at least. Strike 3, David's out at this point. And David sent messengers and took her. And she came in unto him. Now watch this. Now here's where Bathsheba slips. When you go before a king, it doesn't matter how mighty he is, he'd have to rape you in order to violate God without your approval if you're married. All she has to say is, I can't do this, king. I'm married. I'm dedicated to one of your mighty men, Uriah the Hittite. And he's in battle now. And I'm waiting for him to return. She doesn't. And I hear these lessons a lot, but rarely do it. I have to remind myself to the point that Bathsheba was dirty too. Because we was ready to gut punch and beat up David. But Bathsheba's dirty. The difference is David is a leader. And David is leading her into sin when he should be leading her into salvation. If David didn't have one single woman that just made king the day before this, you can't have this one. You can't have this. But in addition, David got a bunch of women. God gave him Saul's women and any woman he wanted. He said, but this one you can't have. And so the problem is, what does David do wrong in talking to Bathsheba? Before he asks her, will you lay with me? He doesn't counsel. He calls on God for everything. When they took their wives and children, they wanted to stone him. He called on God. When he was running from Saul, they asked, can I go and fight this nation? Yes. Then they asked again. They said, man, it's a pretty tough nation, man. They were whooping us back here. Where you going to go fight? Ask again. Gives it to him. David, when he makes his errors of this proportion, these sins unto death like this, he doesn't ask God. Brethren, if we don't get nothing complete before the night is over, please remember, talk to God before you do something. When you're doing something major like this, something you already know got a question on, talk to God. And then you recognize you got Nathan the prophet, all the counselors around David. At least Nathan don't shoot it straight. The problem is David already knows this is a sin. I'm not going to talk to God. I know what he's going to say. So he says, as the writer writes in verse 5, forgive me. And I want to finish 4, forgive me. For she was purified from uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. And the woman conceived and sent to David and said, I'm with a child. See, now he starts to make a mistake. He forgets she could get pregnant. See, when you sin and you think God gonna help you, you done had 3 strikes, man. Like baseball season, you struck out. You had 3 shots to turn this woman away from you, and you think God gonna go, what about if she gets pregnant? Man, please. Because he's gonna use that to snare you, to let you know in your wisdom you didn't calculate this one. In verse 6, David sent unto Joab, saying, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah was coming to him, David demanded on how Joab did, and the people did, and how the war prospered. And David said to Uriah, go down to thy house, and wash thy feet. And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. So to send him some good meal. See, but Uriah, remember, he's one of the mighty men. Even a guy, regular guy, the army knows. But David is talking to a mighty man, a valiant man. He's not scared to die. So he's like, hey man, we don't do this. We don't take no break till the war is over. And so David said to Uriah, go down, say, mess of meat. Verse 9, Uriah slept at the door of the king's house, but all the servants of his Lord, and went not down to his house. And when they had told David, saying, hey man, Uriah went not down unto his house. David said unto Uriah, camest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thine house? And Uriah said unto David, the ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into mine house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As thou livest, as thy soul liveth, I will not do the same. Now that's what Bathsheba should have said. On the opposite, my husband down there, the tent, the ark, really, quote, where you ought to be at, David, I will not do. That's what she should have said. See, now, you got one righteous guy out of 3. Well, 4. Joab's a crook too. Verse 12, and David said unto Uriah, tarry here today also, and tomorrow I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day and the morrow. And when David had called him he did eat and drink before him. So he said, come on, eat with me, man. And he made him drunk. And in the evening, he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his Lord, but went not down the house. Now see, here's a move now. This is a real slick move. Just get him drunk. Now David's not getting him drunk for no purpose. David is thinking, you say, well, how would you know? Well, he's thinking, if he's drunk, I want to go be with my woman. But David is shocked again. He didn't go down to his house. See, that's why I say he didn't go down. Who thought he was going to go down the house? David. 2 times. And it came to pass in the morning, verse 14, that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. Uriah is so holy. He honors the man that's going to cast a vote to get him killed. He honors the man who who actually does the killing to set it up. And he's so honorable, he does not even open the letter. If he just opened it and removed, they're trying to kill me. He's going to get his wife, they bail up out of Israel, whatever. So he says, the letter says, set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, put him in the baddest spot, and retire you from him, that he may be smitten and die. Now see, that's a guaranteed kill, because you're hand-to-hand combat. You got your boys all around you, so you swing and they see a guy finna hit you in your head with a hatchet. They cut him, but you by yourself. Man, you got everybody gonna say, they step back. We're gonna just roll over him like a tire, rolling over an insect. And so it came to pass when Joab observed the city that he assigned Uriah to a place where he knew the valiant men were. And the men of the city went out and fought with Joab, and there fell some of the people of the servants, and David and Uriah the Hittite died also. I'll say servants of David and Uriah the Hittite died also. Verse 18. Then Joab sent and told David all things concerning the war. Now see, I remember first looking at that, I said, why put him with the valiant men? Was he a frontline warrior? I just think he wasn't. But see, he is a valiant man. Because I had not read that Uriah's name until years later was actually with David's mighty men. But the difference is he's by himself against their valiant men. You can't win a battle like that unless the Lord should smite all of them before your eyes. He said, why doesn't the Lord do it? Because Uriah is so holy. He's so wonderful. He's better than David. And the Lord says, why doesn't he make them just fall? Because the Lord doesn't do what we think he should do. And so if you're going to get set up, sometimes the Lord will just let you get set up and enslaved. But he will rescue later, because you can take it to the bank. Uriah is not unhappy in paradise. Believe that. And so therefore it says, so the men of the city went out and fought with Joab, and there fell some of the people of servants of David, and Uriah the Hittite died also. Verse 18. Then Joab sent and told David all things concerning the war, and charged a messenger saying, now watch, he says, now Joab knows he's got some error to the cover. When thou hast made an end of telling the matters of war unto the king, and if so be that the king's wrath arise and say unto thee, wherefore approacheth you so near unto the city, or not to the city, when you did fight? Knew you not that they would shoot from the wall? Now watch what happens. His mind is so focused on evil, he gets his men too close to the wall, and he's going to lose a lot of men that David is going to blast him about, and could reprimand him or take his life. So Joab, he realized, my focus is off. We got too close to the wall. So verse 21, he says, who smote Abimelech. Now see, this is a story David told them. If you read it, David taught them and told them about stories like this. And Joab knew of these stories. Don't never get too close to the wall. He says, who smote Abimelech, the son of Jerubasheth. Did not a woman cast a piece of millstone upon him from the wall? There's a story in the Old Testament. The woman, I remember Sister Paul, I think, was talking about a story one time that was in advance of what we studied. Well, this is a story here that there is a woman that threw a millstone because the guy got too close to the wall and hit it and took his life. And so they use this story and train and say, man, don't get near the wall, never, because that make it easy to die. It says that he died at the bed. Why went you near the wall, not the wall? Then say thou, thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. See, when he go up and say, man, we lost a bunch of people, man. David gonna go, man, why you got so close? Why did he get close to the wall? David is hot now, he's mad. So he says, this happened, tell him, oh, yeah, and Uriah the Hittite is dead too. See, because this is going to cool him off. Because his master plan of devilment has been accomplished. Isn't that sad? Can you believe this is the great King David? But let's see what happens. Verse 22 as we wrap up. So the messenger went and came and showed David all that Joab had sent for him. And the messenger said unto David, surely the men prevailed against us, and came out unto us into the field, and we were upon them even unto the gathering of the entering of the gate. And the shooter shot from off the wall upon thy servants, and some of the king's servants be dead. Now see, this is where he's going to blow up, but he doesn't, because he doesn't let it get that far. And thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. All right, now look at verse 25. This is a whole nother David than they would have expected. Then David said unto the messenger, Thus shalt thou say unto Joab, let not this thing displease thee. What? Yeah, because you got my main goal. You got the Hittite killed for me. For the sword devoured one as well as another. They know this is not how David talked when you made a mistake. Make thy battle more strong against the city, and overthrow it, and encourage thou him. Man, boy, you know what? See, saints, now he's lost his zeal that he would have imparted into the army to go into battle like he would have done, because he is off balance. His mind is on sin and covering it up. And this is the great fall of King David. Verse 26, and when the wife of Uriah the Hittite, heard that Uriah's husband was dead, she mourned for her husband. I know she did. Now knowing your body dirty, you bad, and now your man gone. God done took your man. You know, one of the things you can look at from this, saints, is that be careful what you're doing. Because if that would have been Uriah's baby, it should have been sad. I have his child in me, you know. I shall tell him of how wonderful his father was. But that's another man baby in me. I'm not clean. I'm dirty. And my husband dead. See, after a while you get to thinking, man, is this punishment for what I did with David? Your mind is in turmoil, whatever the case may be. We know one thing, she didn't deserve this man. She did not deserve Uriah. And we can see one thing, God took it. And that's where it's at. But I'm not saying that's all. Okay, all right.
Just
okay, yes,
comment.
Please.
David totally went over to the dark side.
Didn't he?
He went
yes,
over
he
to
did,
the dark
sis.
side. And
yeah.
it lets you see, too, sin doesn't just affect the person who's committing sin. It affects those around you
yes, it
that
does.
care for you. It affects those around.
Yes.
It's just not you.
That's
it's
right.
those around you as well.
Amen.
When you read that so excellently, David went over to the dark
And that's something. God bless you, sis, for highlighting that. You know,
but there's a but God.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Amen. I'm going to tell y'all, saints, you know, many of us have done these type things or something equivalent to some drastic sin. I know I have. Where even after being in good standing with God, these types of hurdles, once you go there, without God, you never make it back, brethren. And David, after this, is going to be hitting and missing along his walk. And he's going to say at the end of his life, he's going to say, you know, my house is not together, in so many words. He said, but God gave me grace. I mean, you know, my life at the end, when I take some of it, the sum of it, he says, it's not together, but God gave me grace. We have to understand the blessing of having the Holy Spirit in us is that this is what saints like David wanted. That the Spirit would stay and dwell in you forever. Because they knew, man, when you do one of these hard things like this, man, it is rough after that. But we have a blessing that the Lord expects us. Okay, now, you see how David was shaky? He made it, but you got to come on better than this. Why? Because you have me in you constantly. That's what the Lord is telling you and I. And so, verse 27, forgive me. And when the morning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife, and bare him a son. But the thing that David did had done displeased the Lord. We're going to stop right here. Every time I read that verse, when I'm about to study this lesson or do anything, it cuts like a knife on me. Because I remember doing a thing, I was like, man, you know, but I said, and you look at it and you go, it displeased the Lord. See, the thing that rescues David is he knows a relationship with God is broke. And this is what makes David double time after that. And this is what gets him over these very heavy hurdles. But they're very grievous to him. His daughter's going to be raped. His son's going to kill the son that raped him. Then they're going to kill his son. And it's going to be drama. Absalom. And men going to be with his wife in the daylight. Remember shame. Remember shame. David's going to feel the shame. Because the next chapter, which we'll deal with when it's my next opportunity to teach, is where Nathan gonna let him know he's not gonna die, but it's gonna be drama. And see, without God being in his life, man, David couldn't have done. Shimei couldn't bounce back. Joab couldn't bounce back. Abner couldn't bounce back. That's amazing. See, think about Asahel, who was run like a deer chasing Abner. See, these guys were too rowdy. They couldn't get back. But David was different than them. And he walked with the Lord. And David would write those songs and he would say, how long will your anger be? Because he knew God was mad. You know, God is mad, man. All this stuff happened. People say stuff to him, yeah, you know, let it go, man. This could be the Lord. You know, he said things like just a heavy, heavy walk. And that's what we're supposed to do. Is say, okay, now let's not do that. Let's not do something like that. There are some people, saints, that don't do these heavy-duty, down in the dumps, on your way to hell type stuff after being a saint. And there are some who do. But remember, the Lord takes all of his children together and heals them all with whatever ailment they have, just like hospitals have different ailments in them. And he repairs us all. And God can take junk ready for the dump and make it a beautiful jewel. And David rises up, but you can see his struggles after this. You can see his slippings, see him reaching up and grabbing. But as we look at this, the key is, it looks like everything is okay. Girl come back over. We don't have no man. Well, everybody know anybody can marry her now. We got a baby. But the end, it says, it displeased the Lord. And see, the Lord just could not let this ride. And so what we have to understand, saints, is when we lose our brothers and sisters is the rebound. We hear a lot of people joke about, I'm on a rebound in relationships. On a rebound, you'll grab anything to keep from drowning. But David has wisdom. And as painful as it was, and he's held on to the Lord. And that's what we have to tell our brothers and sisters. When you do these sins unto death, it's just a whole array of them. It sounds like it's going to be okay. You bounce back. We talk about marriage, divorce, remarriage a lot. Yeah, you can get forgiveness and marry again. But can you handle it? You going to be any better than you were before? See, we say what can be done. You can get forgiveness for murder, but can you live with yourself? So you got to live with yourself. You might be forced to live by logistics, by the person like poor old Paul. That is Stephen. Killed. And that's one of Philip's boys. They worked together. One of their first major works that the Bible talks about is overseeing Grecian widows being fed. But then later he stays at Philip's house. But yeah, y'all understand, he knows, man. This cat know me, man. He know me, Stephen, this past, what we did, what happened, how I was that egging them on. Everybody can't get past that, saints. Known as a murderer. Everybody can't get past that. So we encourage the righteous, do not get involved with these actions because everyone doesn't make it back. But you know what? Sometimes people say, let me live my life. I got to experience it for myself. You experienced it, but who would want to do what David did? But we don't see that when the sin brings pleasure. See, the pleasure of David and that woman, man, but David couldn't see nothing bad going for what? What's going to happen? Oh, we got our baby now. God has forgiven. See, and that's one of the problems. Blessings are allowed to come after these sins unto death. The problem is, until God gets this exonerated in our lives, he is not pleased. And sometimes you and I have to bear the burden of going to tell that person, you know, God's going to come back for this. I mean, how you can't judge me? No. God's coming back for you for this because you got to fix this. And I don't know what's going to happen after. And you have to let the people know. Well, they're saints or sinners, it doesn't matter. Especially the saint. Yeah, it's not because Satan's going to come hard. He's going to bring it like no tomorrow. So, you know, if anyone has any more questions or any type of comments to make, we recognize this is the rise and fall of David. And then we'll deal with his punishment phase in another lesson, another time. So if you listen to the message or you're present and you see that your walk is not right with God, you want to be baptized, be saved. Well, recognize first, if you don't know that, we have to tell you, according to Acts 19, 1-5, you must be baptized again. Why? The same thing in Acts 19, 1-5 happens in Acts 18 with the individual who we know is a mighty man, Apollos. So teacher and listeners, same thing. The same thing in the mighty man John the Baptist that taught the original lesson. There are many there on their Pentecost that have to get baptized again. And you cannot get into heaven or try to make yourself a member of the church, as some people have done, without displeasing God until you do it the right way. So we've got to believe the gospel again, that Jesus died, was buried on the third day, rose again. We've got to accept that the only way out is Jesus said, he that believes and is baptized shall be saved, he that believes not shall be damned. We must accept that the scriptures teach in Acts 2, they ask in verse 37, men and brethren, what shall we do? They all asked, whichever disciple that they were near as they spoke, what shall we do? He said, repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Jesus Christ, for the remission of sins, and you shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. For the promise is unto you, and unto your children, and to all that are far off, even as many as the Lord our God shall call. And with many other words he testified and encouraged them, save yourself from that untoward, which is perverted or crooked generation. Then they that gladly received his word were baptized the same day, 3,000 souls added unto them, and they continued steadfast in the apostle doctrine, breaking bread and in prayers. And the Lord added to the church daily such as should be saved. And with those thoughts in our mind, we understand from the book of Acts chapter 2, the eunuch is excited in Acts chapter 8. He sees the water, but the intricate explanation must be, he says, when see his water, what hindered me from being baptized? And Philip tells him, if you believe with all your heart, you may. He says, I believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And then he stops the chariot and he baptizes him. Then they rejoice because Paul has a scripture that must be accepted and understood. 1 Corinthians 12:13, for by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether Jew or Gentile, bond or free, and have all been made to drink into one Spirit. So the same thing the person in jail on death row has to do, the same thing is an individual who's been a police chief for 30 years has to do, and that is be baptized. And we understand the concept is there because in 1 Peter 3:21, he says, a like figure whereas even baptism was also now save us, not the putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of a good conscience toward God by the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who's gone to heaven. He says, at the right hand of God is his post, angels, authorities, and powers are subject unto him. And the key word is they were made subject unto him. And so therefore we can accept that in our hearts and embrace it. We recognize that Jesus gives us hope in Revelation 2:10. It says, behold, the devil shall cast some of you in prison. So you have tribulation 10 days. So it'll be thou faithful unto death, you receive everlasting life. We can hold on to that. God will rescue us. Saints, don't let the battle get so where you do it, David, be in the wrong place. But you shouldn't be looking at something that you shouldn't look at and calling and embracing something that we have no right to, because at the end, even if God forgives us, staying on track afterwards can be too heavy for many of us, because that weight that we have carried sometimes, David has to carry that woman. He has to carry that. He's got another man woman because he killed. And he was able to, but every man doesn't have that ability. So if you're here, you need to be baptized. You listen at the message, hit the triangle and drop down with some phone numbers and you can call. They can direct you to someone no matter what land you live in that can baptize you. But if you're here, you're a member of the church, you've gotten off track, don't fight it alone. It's too battle. The battle is too bold, it's too heavy. Satan brings too much. You have to take it to the Lord in prayer. Let him lift you up now. Come now together, we stand and sing Heaven's Invitation. Do not let the word depart, and close thine eyes against the light.